everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Translating Love. I'm Dani.
And I'm Wolfgang.
Oh, Wolfgang today.
No, Woifi. I'm Woifi.
Oh, I thought you were going for more elegant.
And it's me, Woifi. We're back with a new episode. It's been a while.
I'm stealing your thing now, and I'm going to thank everybody who's been listening to the podcast, who has been sharing it, who has been commenting on things, or like writing us messages about it, giving us feedback. All of that is appreciated.
Yeah.
And yeah, it really helps us. So thank you.
And also, shout out to Jenna from Michigan. You know why, you know how, you know because, whatever. But thanks for listening. Yeah. What's today's topic?
I think we should say that's kind of cool that there's a woman named Jenna from Michigan.
Yeah.
And she has a kind of similar story in terms of she met her now husband, who is from Austria. She met him when she came over here to work, to teach English. And they're now married, and they live really close by to us. And so we actually got to meet her, and that was really fun. Cool. So she found us through the podcast, and
that was kind of fun.
Now we made a friend. So.
Yeah. So shout out. And also thanks for reaching out. That was a cool, fun, coffee and talk. And I hope we can do it again soon. But yeah, today's topic is relationship phases, but also how a relationship evolves during.
So basically how your love changes from the very beginning to the more you're together, like the longer that you've been together, how it changes in positive ways.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, as we all know, in the first phases of love or being in love, in German we say die rosarote Brille oder durch die rosarote Brille sehen. So we basically see through like this
the pink glasses.
Yeah, obscure vision of everything's awesome and butterflies.
In English, the butterfly phase or the honeymoon phase.
Right, and everything's just super cool and you just feel good and elevated and
you want to like talk to that person all the time and you want to see them all the time and you might do more things that you don't typically do when you're more comfortable, like more snuggling or more hand-holding or more makeout sessions on the couch just because, or in, I think, most cases, more frequent sex.
Yeah.
And I mean, all of those things, they play together in that honeymoon or butterfly phase. And what we really wanted to talk about was the next phases, the things that come after that. And I think there's a lot of people who are afraid, if that's the right word, to lose the honeymoon phase as if it means, I mean, I get that. I had that too. As if it means like once that phase is over, like, oh, things used to be like this.
The shit show starts.
Once that phase is over, it means like we're not as connected anymore or we're not as attracted to each other anymore. But I think that's not at all the case. And if that is the case, then maybe it's not the right relationship.
Maybe then you should just break up or talk about it.
Or talk about it first.
Break up and then talk about it. But yeah, I mean, the honeymoon phase is an interesting phase. It can last between, I don't know, a few weeks, but also a couple of months.
Some people it lasts years.
Yeah, so that's kind of it's kind of fun, but it's also a phase that is also not reality in the sense that you feel so many things and I don't know. You also tend to oversee things that bother you in the person, or you don't recognize them. You miss a lot of red
flags.
Right. And so the honeymoon phase can also be like misleading in the sense that, oh, you're so much in love with this person, everything's perfect, when in fact reality hits at some point and not everything's perfect.
Well, and something interesting that I read is that the honeymoon phase is very much, in terms of how it affects you physiologically, is very much the same as like how the brain reacts to addiction.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that, but it kind of makes sense.
I mean, so basically what they said is that the whole process of falling in love, which includes the butterfly phase and the honeymoon phase and all of that, the whole process triggers our pleasure center in our brain, which for you other nerds out there who like the brain is the basal ganglia.
Tell me more.
And that basically causes immediate physiological responses in the brain.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly all of those things that we mentioned about like the butterfly feeling in your stomach. You feel queasy, but in a good way. Those are all reactions of the brain.
Yeah. And
it's essentially a form of addiction.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
Of how your brain reacts.
It kind of makes sense. I mean, if you like, I don't know, if you feel back or if you think back of the time where you were in that phase, kind of makes sense because it's like all a little, as I said, like skewed. It's like, it's not reality. You look at everything just in a different light. It's like everything's
it is
just
reality, but it's an obscure version of reality.
It's covered by a pink sheet or like a fluffy sheet. Everything's super awesome.
I mean, love is a drug, as Kesha would say.
Yeah. Wow, we are quoting Kesha now.
I mean, she's like my goddess. So yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, I think the fun or interesting or obviously also the more intense parts of a relationship comes after that, because the honeymoon phase is just like the tip of the iceberg.
And if you continue past the honeymoon phase, if your relationship lasts longer than that part of it, I think honestly that's as lovely as the honeymoon phase is. And there are some times where I'm like, oh, I wish that I had that feeling still. You know, it's you sometimes long for that feeling, but at the same time you think about everything you have now, and I wouldn't trade it for that feeling again. Everything that we have now versus what we had then, I wouldn't give that up just to have that like honeymoon phase.
I think that's also a big part of, or can be a big part of, people who just jump from one relationship to another because just to have that feeling. I mean, and once it's gone, they lose interest or even think like, oh, I don't love the person anymore, or this is not my relationship.
And it's okay in a relationship to be bored sometimes, but it shouldn't be the majority of it. Like, you're not bored with the relationship.
Are you bored?
No, but you can be bored together. You can have nothing to talk about. You can get annoyed with each other. You can have all of those things, but I think there's like a limit. So when it's all the time, so that honeymoon phase ends and then you're just constantly bored with each other, I think that's a big sign that, okay, maybe this isn't the right relationship.
I mean, that's like a red flag. Also, that's something you need to talk about it, address it in a way. But yeah, I mean, routine is the big step afterwards. Like once you pass that one phase, routine sets in, and then you're like, okay, I'm working during these days, or I'm going to school during these days, or we only can see each other on the weekends.
Or you have if you're living together, you have your own routine together. Like sometimes, I mean, Woifi and I most of the time go to bed at the same time. It's pretty rare that we don't. Like, one of us goes to bed earlier and the next person comes in later. Yeah, because
you force me. I want to stay up long anyways, but you force me. Let's go to bed. I'm like, can I stay up, please? No, you can't stay up.
Except it's almost always you saying that we should like turn off whatever we're watching, or we should go to sleep. It's not true. Almost always you.
Most of the time I ask you, do you want to watch one more thing? Or do you want to...
You know why?
I don't know.
Because you're a pansy. Pansy.
Yeah, right.
Anyways, but yeah, just like that sense of steady routine that sets in, but it doesn't have to be a bad. I mean, it's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
I think it shows that you're starting to be more comfortable with each other. Yeah. It also gives you like a sense of stability, and you I mean,
routine is important.
Yeah.
Without routine, life is not structured, and you need just some structure in your life, even if it's just a small routine.
Yeah.
The bad thing is if the routine turns into like every day the same, or every time we see each other we do the same thing,
or your routine is to like you're both at home and you don't do anything together, you don't talk to each other. It's just routine doesn't necessarily have to mean you do the same thing all the time. It's just more you kind of fall into a pattern together, you get a groove going. And
I think that's also, I mean, that's good too, that happens, but sometimes it's good to just break through and do something that you usually don't do.
And that's exactly. It's good to like throw in little surprises here and there, and it doesn't have to be the same all the time, but it's more of like you just get a sense of stability with each other. And I think that's the good thing. Another kind of phase that comes along with being together longer is like honesty, but in the sense that the person is not only honest with you just in general, but is honest with you about things that might be more difficult to be honest about, like either things about you or things that you might do that might annoy them or bother them, or
everyone had that
things that make them
thing,
uncomfortable in terms of like talking about sex or likes and dislikes in that sense.
Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. But I mean that's a common phase where a lot of people struggle, because being open with each other and talking about stuff that might not be easy to talk about, or even addressing things that might cause some argument is not easy. Especially,
and sometimes it can hurt. It can sometimes be painful to hear. I mean, the truth hurts is what they say, but sometimes it hurts. But I think when it's coming from the person that you love and trust the most, it also kind of shows how much they care about you and how much they love you, that they're able to say that to you and that they don't have to keep it from you what they're feeling.
I mean, the thing is, you can almost say anything in a hurtful way, and you can say almost anything in a loving way.
Yeah, anything that could come off as hurtful, you can rephrase to sound loving.
For example, if that person has like the biggest mole on its nose,
it's
on her or his nose,
or their nose,
you can address it in a loving way, like, hey, have you ever thought about that fucking mole? You fucking no, but I don't know. But
I mean, for the record, I don't think that was a good example, because for the record, your partner is never able to tell you to change something about your body. It's your body,
right? It's your mole. So if you have a mole that you like, keep it.
Yeah. So that was a bad example.
But that's the overall message we have today. If you want
to change something physically about your partner, make sure you tell them in a loving way.
make sure to just message them, like drag the message across, like in a subtle way, like like watching a movie and you say, hey, look at that guy, he has not a big mole on his face, something like that, where you don't address it.
Sure. No, let's think of a better example.
Okay, better example.
Like maybe they have a bad habit, like they bite their nails or they chew really loudly, or something that just kind of gets to you, that makes you tick a little bit.
Yeah.
And you want to be honest about that. You wouldn't say, if they're a loud chewer, you wouldn't say, shut your fucking mouth, you're so loud.
Hey, come off. Huh? We chewing all the time.
But you can either try to like make it fun, which is more our relationship. If we have something like kind of in that sense to tell each other, I feel like most of the time we make a joke.
Yeah, but on the outside I laugh, and on the inside I cry.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. It's good to know.
No, but you can address it in a loving and in a hurtful way. So it's always
not in a hurtful way.
Not in a, and you should. I mean, your partner at that point, and I think it's also good to voice things like that if there are things that keep bothering you for some reason, or if there are things that for some reason they just come up over and over again, then just address them. I think you're both
address them while they're small,
right?
Because if you don't address them, if it's something that the other person does frequently, it's going to bother you more each time that it happens, and then eventually it's going to be this big thing, and it could just randomly come up in a fight then where you just throw it at them, and it's better to just address it.
It can grow, and it can make you resent that person or cause arguments about stupid small stuff. Yeah.
Another thing that comes along with being in a relationship longer is being vulnerable.
I mean, it's the same thing.
But that goes along with that, where you're so comfortable that you can express your emotions and you're able to cry. I think he has to take the pen away from me because I keep playing with it and making noises. But just that you're able to be an emotional being, because we are emotional beings, but you're not afraid to show that emotion in front of your partner.
I think that's a big part for male listeners, especially. We don't have that many male listeners. But the ones who are listening, I think it's a big and a good thing to remind yourself that you can cry in front of the person you love, and
you can cry in front of anybody, but
but you should show your emotions in certain situations. You shouldn't hold back, because it's for some reason
the whole thing that crying makes you weak or whatever, or showing emotions shows weakness. It's the opposite. Showing emotions shows how in tune you are with yourself, and
also talking about your emotions is like, I mean, it's hard, at least
It is hard.
From my experience, it's super hard, but that's also something that should be done. And it can be learned. And that's also a good thing to keep reminding, especially men, to do that more often. Because, I mean, men are prone to just swallow everything and lock it and drink and smoke and die soon.
Sure.
So, yeah.
What's another thing that comes with?
I mean, the fighting part is a big thing. And I think that's also, it goes along with the other parts, but you should not be afraid to fight. We've
talked about that in other episodes.
Right. We had the anger and the arguing podcast episodes, which are good. If you haven't listened to them yet, you should. But it's always good to fight in a constructive way and to get rid of things that bother you, or that at that moment might be something that you need to voice. And yeah, I think it's good to fight. It's
worse to not fight. It's worse to never ever fight with each other.
It's weird because some people say, I know some people who say we never fight, and yeah, that might be good. I don't know. But I couldn't. I'm not the person who could not never fight. I need to fight sometimes. There are certain situations, there are certain things that just have to come up in a fight or have to be. I don't know. It's just a natural thing. I mean,
it's weird to say, but it feels weird to say because fighting is seen as so negative, and sure, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to fight, and you're not like, we haven't fought in a while. Let's have a fight right now. Like, but things come up and it happens, and it's good to get them out. That's what the good thing is.
Right.
And it's good to express those things because you also learn from it. You grow from it with your partner.
Right.
And you learn how to resolve conflicts together because everybody resolves conflicts differently. You have to learn how to do that with your partner.
Right. If you have never learned that, like I did in my relationships before, it's hard to be honest, I wish I would have learned fighting sooner than now or in the last couple of years because it would have helped me a lot.
Yeah. The next thing is a pure level of comfort. And that's not just, we touched on comfort in just like feeling stable and feeling your routine and also it being comfortable, being vulnerable. But I mean the type of comfort where it's almost funny kind of comfort, where you can do certain things in front of each other that you would never do in like the butterfly phase or that seem like weird things to do.
Like shaving your anuses. Like shaving each other's anuses. That's something.
Shaving each other's?
Yeah.
We're not doing
at the same time.
We're not doing that.
But that's something that's nice because you care about their anus.
You can't shave your own anus?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's hard. If someone does it for you, they do hopefully a proper job and they're careful and it's nice to have a smooth anus.
Sure.
Yeah.
That could be one thing for some people.
Yeah.
Not for us.
Or wiping each other.
That's also not going to happen.
But that's something. That's such a good.
I'm thinking more of on the lines of like farting in front of each other, which you did very early on.
That's the same thing. It's the same thing, Danielle.
Or burping, which you also did very early on.
I never burp.
Yeah. Okay. Peeing in front of each other, that one I've never ever had with anybody, and I was in a relationship with somebody for 6 years.
That's weird. You never knew where the pee came out in a man?
I'm not an idiot. I know where the pee comes out.
I remember the first time I peed, you said, I thought the pee's coming out on a hole between your penis and your asshole. I was like, why? How would that work? It's just like, I thought like behind your balls, there's a hole where the pee comes out.
Like a vagina.
Yeah, a pee vagina, just for peeing, not to. Right.
Yep, that's what I thought. But yeah, that, and this is Wolfgang's absolute favorite topic, talking about poop.
But that's not something that should be in relationships.
Wolfgang, that is something that comes with time. That is not something that you're talking about in the honeymoon phase. You also don't, in the honeymoon phase, you don't want to go, if you have to poop, you don't want to poop somewhere where the other person might smell it.
The thing is, I get the smell thing because I don't like when people smell my poop. It's disgusting. But talking about poop is a different thing because talking about
he
poop,
talked about poop way too early for my
Not
comfort
too
zone.
early.
Yes, way too early for my comfort zone.
The thing is, you never talked about poop, so I had to just
it made
steer
me
you in the right
uncomfortable.
direction.
I'm an American. We're uncomfortable with those topics.
Right, and you keep dying of colon cancer because you never talk about poop. So
I mean, I don't have colon cancer.
doing you a favor, America.
So now we talk about poop, and now it's
Let's take a quick break.
From poop.
In general.
Do you need to poop? Is that why you need a break?
Let's take a quick
Okay, we're gonna take a
pooping
poop break.
And we're back from a pooping break.
How was your poop?
Actually didn't poop.
I didn't either. I pushed really hard, but I think.
Yeah, I heard like some, but they were really dry.
See, you guys, anyone listening out there, this is what you get when you go past the butterfly phase.
Yeah.
Doesn't it sound exciting?
The thing is, I think talking about poop should not be something that just should be in relationships. You should be so comfortable to talk about poop with anyone. I mean, you talk about poop with your doctor, and he's basically a stranger.
I'm telling you, most people I know, at least in the States, even when we go to our doctor, it's uncomfortable. I hated when my doctor would ask me, like, how is your stool? I hated it. I would just say fine.
Thank you, doctor. How is yours?
I literally would just say fine, even if it wasn't fine, because I didn't want to talk about it.
It's mostly blood at this point. But I'm good. How is yours? Can I see it?
It's a poop stigma. Okay, let's go away from poop now.
I have a picture from the poop of my last 7 days.
Let's
I
talk
prepared
about
a PowerPoint. Let me walk you through it.
a PowerPoint. It's so old school. I prepared a PowerPoint on this floppy disk.
This is the poop on Monday. You can see I ate some corn on Sunday.
I do not digest corn.
This is my poop on Tuesday. I drank too much coffee. That's why it's a little loose. Okay, let's go back to the topic. I'm sorry. We should just do one episode where we just talk about poop.
Sure, we can do that.
Okay.
Okay, the next thing, and these last two are my favorite ones, but you have a stronger connection with each other.
Yeah.
So, for example, you understand every single aspect of that person, everything that makes them happy. You know what makes them tick. You know how to make them laugh. For me especially, I can sense that something is wrong before he says that something's wrong. Or like when he's stressed, I can sense that he's stressed before he tells me he is. Sometimes I even know why.
And I can sense when you have bad poop.
We're going away from poop now.
Okay, sorry.
Away from it.
No, but yeah. I mean, it's with everything. The closer you grow, the longer you know a person, the more you know about them. And the more, it's like with a really good friendship, you just understand each other on a different level.
I mean, that's the thing. You become best friends with each other. I mean...
Oh, you're not my best friend. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Andy is. Shout out to Andy.
Andy, there have been multiple times where he has said that I'm his best
friend.
friend.
The sad thing is Andy's not listening to our podcast, so the shout out was for nothing.
What if he listens to this one now?
He won't. It was. I feel like the shout out was like shouted into a void of black darkness.
Anyways.
Yeah. But you're my best friend. Sorry, keep going.
Is that actually true?
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, that's nice.
Because Andy never talks to me. He never calls. Never messages me.
He never writes me letters anymore.
But he can't even talk to me anymore.
That's okay.
Sorry. Rant over.
But yeah, you I think the really like important part of that connection is that when things go wrong or when you have hard times, which you will, there's no avoiding the hard times and the struggles. But when you have those times, you don't have the urge or like that little part of you that says I can just leave the relationship. That doesn't happen anymore. It's just,
I mean, it shouldn't.
You want to work on, like, your first instinct is I want to fix this. I want to work on this because I care so much about this person and the relationship we've built together.
I mean, yeah, and that's something that should come from both parts.
And it makes it even stronger then. And so that also alone makes your connection so strong.
I mean, the thing is, it's at some point a relationship doesn't work anymore, and that's just how it is sometimes, and that's fine. Then also that therefore there's a big part in just going apart in a good way or in a healthy way, where you both agree to, okay, let's just end this because there's no point in doing this anymore. But until it gets to the point, I think it's how bad would it be if you just say after 8 years or after 10 years of a relationship, just throw it away, just everything,
without like trying to work on it or without putting any effort in.
And therapy is a big thing. I know some couples who went to couples therapy and they managed to rebuild their relationship on a new level.
And I think we've said this before, but therapy shouldn't be used as a last resort. Sure, it can be. Some people do it that way, but
the thing is,
we started going where everything was fine. I mean, we had a couple things that we have to work out, like with how we argue and how we communicate, but it was nothing like.
Yeah. No, the ground line, or the, what is it, the baseline of the whole thing, or the whatever. The point of the whole thing is that no relationship is easy. No relationship is just like winging it. It's hard work, and you have to put the work in order to make it work. And just running away from a relationship to avoid that work will just bring you in the same situation again and again and again. So at some point you have to say, okay, what do I want? Do I want to be alone, which is fine? Or do I want to commit to something that also means working for it and also putting work in, which also means letting go of some habits, compromising, and putting time into and effort into the whole thing. Yeah. Right. And
I think with therapy too, it's so nice because it's even when there's no like serious, I put that in quotations, like serious problem or something, you just go because you don't have to go that often, but just go because it's another person who's not biased to your situation. Yeah. They don't know you, and they can give you more input on the things that maybe, like, they can give you things that maybe you wouldn't have thought of before.
Yeah. Also, I like to compare it as like going to the doctor once a year or twice a year, once a year or every couple of years to check your health, check everything. That's something you do for yourself, and the doctor tells you if something's wrong, and you can prevent things in early stages. And it's the same with a relationship. You go there, you get tools, you get things, you work on something that might cause and at some point a breakup, or even a massive fight that might lead to a breakup. So therefore you are not wasting your time going to a therapist if there's nothing like serious going on in your relationship. It's more like a preventive thing. It's more like I'm using the time now so I can build a stable and a steady relationship out of that. And yeah, because
I think there's such a big stigma around therapy that when you say you're going to therapy, I mean, I still get this from people because we're open about it. It's not like we're hiding it. And I still get it from some people where I say like, oh, we were in couples therapy because I just talk about it so naturally. And people give you this look sometimes, or they say things like, oh, what's wrong? You know,
he's like talking about poop all the time. It's a major issue.
But there are some people, I think a lot of people have this idea that when you go to therapy, something's wrong. Yeah. And I think that's the worst connotation to have with therapy. Right. It can be that, but I think it should be more that you're going to keep things good.
Right. What's better, a really depressed, suicidal person or someone who goes to therapy to prevent that? I mean, it's a no-brainer. Yeah, and the last one is basically total unfiltered love. It's also part of the whole thing. But I don't know, it's just being together so long that you can't imagine being without the person anymore. You like everything about them, their flaws, their little...
Although flaws, I don't love that word.
Yeah, but the little nicks, the little things they do, the little quirks.
I like to say their imperfections become perfect to you. Like things that might be seen as like, imperfect are things that you love about them.
Right, like talking about poop.
Talking about poop. But, I mean, you never stop learning with each other. You never stop growing as a couple. Yeah. That you constantly are reminded of why you fell in love with that person in the first place, which I think is a beautiful thing. And I mean, for me at least, I can say I'm constantly falling more in love with you. Like,
with me?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
No, with Bob.
Bob, he's cool. I like Bob too.
But I feel like I'm constantly like continuing to fall in love with you. It might be the same things that I fell in love with before, but they just get reinforced, and I'm like, oh, I so much love that about this person. And especially when we have like really good, there are just some weeks where we just have like this really super strong connection with each other, which I felt lately.
Yeah, because you stop annoying me and I stop bugging you, and we swallow our pride. And I mean,
no, but sometimes like I have so much fun with you.
Yeah.
Which I've never had that before. I've never had so much fun with somebody and so like laughed so much with somebody and joked around with somebody so much.
Because I'm a fun person. And
you are a fun person, but it's not just you.
I mean, yeah, it is just me.
So I'm not fun and I'm not funny.
Oh, you are fun.
And I don't make you laugh. And
you make me laugh sometimes.
See how he adds the sometimes in there.
No, but in all seriousness, yeah, I totally get that. And I think that's like a huge part of why you put in the work and why you commit to someone, because that's something you get out of that. You get out of working for that relationship and working on yourself to be a better partner. It's like when you work
really, really long to, like, say you're studying something and you work really long to get that degree or to finish, or you're building something and you finally finish it. It's like the satisfaction of seeing what you've built or seeing this thing that you've done and how far you've come. It's the same in a relationship where you see all of the work that you've put in. It's not for nothing.
I agree.
And you have these long spans of time where things are just so seemingly perfect and you're happy and you love being around that person. And it just like those are the moments where it's like, this is all worth it. Every little argument we've had, every big argument we've had, everything we've gotten over, all the work you put in, it's all worth it for those moments.
So. I agree. And I mean, that's the end goal. That's, you want to be with someone who works as equal as you for that relationship. And sure, it's not a competition, and there are struggles, but yeah, I think compared to my other relationships and everything else I have experienced in my life, I can say it's totally worth it. It sucks sometimes, and sometimes you scream at each other, and you, which
is an example of a like deconstructive, what's it called? Destructive. And
you call each other
argument.
Things, but
it happens.
Yeah, and I think that's also part of learning. I mean, if it wouldn't happen, I don't know.
Don't learn anything.
Right.
Then, yeah.
I mean, sure, some people don't do it, and that's awesome if you really can do it without ever, like, I don't think avoiding confrontation is good, but if you can confrontate each other without going ever to that place, confront each other, then that's awesome. But yeah, we can't do that. We never were able to really do that, but we're going towards that. That's our goal. And yeah.
And I think it's important to just say that just because like maybe your relationship gets to this point and you have all these things, which I feel like we have bits and pieces of them. And I mean, I feel like all of these are true for us.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that things are perfect all the time. And I mean, if you listen to our podcast, then you know that, because we've had arguments, we've had to redo episodes because the episode itself made us argue and we had to stop, or we talk about arguing and stuff. So it's not always like sunshine and rainbows and lollipops and whatever that song is. But it's still good to, even when you have these things with somebody, to talk about your wants, your desires, because as you grow as a couple and as you grow as a person, things change for your wants and desires.
I think that's also
important to continue to have that open communication with each other, because who you are now isn't necessarily who you were when you first started dating, or 5 years ago, or whenever it was.
That's the exciting part of the whole thing, that you grow with each other and not as a separate entity. You're in this together and you grow with each other, and that's kind of fun, because maybe your partner will be a bitch in 10 years, you know? You never know. You never know. No, but yeah, I mean, we all grow, we all change all the time. At least that's something we should do, because the world is changing, and if you don't change, then what's the point of living, to be honest? But
it's pretty dark.
I mean, it is. To be honest, that's my philosophy. If you don't change anymore, what's the point? If you just stand there like a tree, even a tree changes. Don't be a fucking lamp post or like a lamp somewhere. Those things don't change. So
I mean, their technology changes.
Yeah, but not a lamp that is manufactured. That they're there. You don't want to be an antique lamp in 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So change.
But for example, I mean, like the love languages, that's a great way to continue to, I don't know, grow together and learn together. You talk about your love languages and use them and utilize them with each other.
Yeah, be
constantly communicating, because
be open.
Things change, like we said. And you fall in love with all of those changes too. You fall in love with the way that your partner changes, and it's
and it's also fun, because you might find out things about you and about your partner that you didn't know yet, or that are new. Or
you never stop learning about each other.
And that's kind of interesting.
Down. I mean, it's slow. The things that you learn slow down, but there are still things that I learn about him where he says something, I'm like, oh, I had zero idea that happened in your life, or I had no idea that you thought that way, or it's never ending.
It's a never ending story.
It's a never ending story.
Until you die, then it's ended.
That's not necessarily true.
But yeah, let's end on that note. Thank you for listening, everybody. If you liked what you hear, please consider subscribing, sharing, and if you can, rate the podcast on Stitcher or on Apple Podcast. We really appreciate it.
And also, just as a disclaimer, by no means do we think that we're experts on relationships.
Right.
It's more, this is just our opinions and how it is for us, and we have our own problems and we have our own things that we struggle with and that we work on, and we try to be open about those things on the podcast.
Yeah.
But it's also nice sometimes to have an episode like this where you can kind of just love on each other a little bit, and because that's also that belongs to a relationship too, and it's good to celebrate that when you have that with somebody.
Are you done now? We need to end the podcast.
Talk so damn much.
Okay,
that's a good. Just wanted to say that. So yeah.
So thank you for listening, everybody.
Thanks for listening.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Goodbye.